Welcome everyone to the December 16th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting. And I'd like to get started tonight with, call the meeting to order and get started tonight with a land acknowledgement. Beaumont is proud to be part of the Treaty 6 territory and the homeland of the Métis, and we value the enduring relationships with Indigenous peoples who continue to share their history, knowledge, and culture with our community. Thank you. Next item on the agenda tonight is the adoption of the agenda. If we could have the agenda put up. I'll be looking for a motion from Councillor Hyde.
Yeah, I'll make the motion that the December 16th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting agenda be adopted as presented.
Thank you for that. Any questions, comments on that one? Seeing none, we'll call the question. Once everyone has voted here. Sounds good. Yeah, everyone has voted. Yeah, that passes 7-0. Thank you. Next item on the list is the adoption of the minutes. Looking for a committee member to make that motion. Councillor Colesmith, you're up.
I move that the November 18th Committee of the Whole meeting minutes be adopted as presented.
Thank you for that. Any comments, questions on that one from anyone? Seeing none, we'll call the question. Thank you all. That also passes unanimously 7-0. Madam Clerk, do we have any open forum registered guests tonight?
No, Chair, we do not.
Okay, thank you for that. Now with that, we'll move on to section 5 of the meeting. So notice on the agenda tonight we have some timing, so 5.3 and 5.4, 5.3 and 5.4. We'll do our best to make those times work, but you know, if some of the discussion moves a little bit longer, I've confirmed with administration we do have a little bit of flexibility on that timing, so we won't look to limit debate, but if we can hit those times I think we can hit those times fairly easily, and we'll just see how it goes, everyone. So item 5.1 is the capital projects update, and love to get started with that. And Mr. Anders, over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor and Committee. My name is Ron Anders. I'm the Manager of Municipal Projects, and I'm happy to be here today to provide an update on 3 notable design projects that we've been working on this past year. The 3 projects include the intersection design at Township Road 510 with Range Road 243, the Russo Sports Field and engagement siting and design, as well as engagement siting and design for new pickleball courts within the city. The Township Road 510 corridor has been studied, and a previous transportation functional plan was completed in 2022. And since that time, the region and city have grown, and there's a clear need to improve the capacity and operation at the primary intersections of this corridor. To accomplish this, a design project was approved and started in 2025 with an engineering consultant. So initially, the 3 primary intersections of Range Roads 241, 243, as well as 50th Street were planned to be redesigned. And based upon updated traffic data and analysis, the Range Road 241 intersection was found to be operating within acceptable design parameters and expected to continue to operate at acceptable levels for the foreseeable 10 to 15 year horizon based on the transportation model projections. So additionally, the anticipated cost of engineering had escalated from estimates, and the approved budget earmarked for that Range Road 241 design were reallocated, and that design was postponed and reallocated to the 50th Street as well as Range Road 243 redesign aspects. So with priority being given to the reconstruction of Range Road 243. Based on the transportation model and future projections for the corridor, both traffic signals and a roundabout were evaluated as potential intersection controls for that intersection. So a detailed and thorough engineering analysis process that modeled traffic in the near 10 to 20-year horizon, as well as out 50 years, as a 4-lane arterial corridor around intersection design option. The process of transportation engineering and optimizing legal traffic control systems requires strict conformance with engineering standards and nationally accepted best practices, and does not contemplate public opinion. So therefore, no public engagement is conducted on this type of work. So looking here at the latest design option, we see future linkages to the north for that land as it gets developed in the future, as well as a fully connected trail system. Of course, the initial construction anticipated to start this spring will not include all of these trails shown, but it does show the general design in principle. The detailed design is currently being finalized along with negotiations with adjacent landowners and utility companies, including Fortis and Apex. We are looking forward to tendering the construction works in Q1 of 2026, with construction starting as weather permits. Construction staging is going to be complex, and building this roundabout while maintaining traffic through this existing intersection will be challenging. Drivers should expect significant delays and detours throughout the year. As the Rousseau School and neighborhood have continued to develop, the green space east of the school was known to be available for space programming, or park programming rather, in 2026. So as a result, an engineering consultant was contracted and an engagement was conducted with the surrounding neighborhood, the school, pickleballers, soccer, and baseball associations. So through this engagement, it was determined that the site was best suited for more school and children-focused programming, therefore moving the pickleball courts to an alternative location within the city. Focusing on Rousseau, the site is limited in size and has an open storm ditch running through it. There are limited options available for consideration based on those constraints. So as you can see here, our design consultants look to optimize the use of the space by filling in the storm ditch and designing an underground storm system, as well as leveraging all available space to include one ball diamond and one full-size soccer pitch. The detailed design is being finalized. Construction tendering is anticipated to be completed in Q1 again of 2026, with construction occurring through the 26 season. While impact to the community is anticipated to be low, coordination with the storm system improvements is complex, and any unanticipated design alterations may yet to be found. So, while the public engagement proved to be fairly polarizing because of the space limitations at the Rousseau School site, alternative city-owned land locations were evaluated. Through this evaluation, the site west of the RCMP building site became the most appropriate location for a proposed 8-court pickleball site. The size of the site, the number of currently available parking spaces, collector road access, acceptable zoning and land use, and the relatively low impact to adjacent residential developments made this site the preferred location. Seeing here, the RCMP building is on the right or the east side. The existing parking lot and green space accommodate 8 regulation-sized pickleball courts with walkways. And as construction of the pickleball courts was not prioritized for 2026, the design can be considered for a future year's construction project. We do recognize the public's desire to be informed and try to provide updates through regular and consistent channels. So these do include our city website as well as our project dashboard site. The dashboard displays a map of the city where projects such as these 3 can be clicked upon, and a brief description of that project is displayed with the update as well. So coming in 2026, we are planning to create informative signs for projects that throughout the city. In this case, the Township 510 project as an example, larger signs would be placed along the road to inform drivers, and the sign will likely include a message to look to the project dashboard. We certainly don't want drivers distracted and reading the sign while they're driving by, but it would drive them to our website for additional updates and information. In the case of the Rousseau Sports Field, the proposed signs may be placed on the construction fencing and include additional information regarding the project, along with a link or a QR code for residents to get those same updates on our website as well. And with that, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Has any questions at all? I see a couple of mics. Mayor, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Anders. So quick question, just wanted to clarify, did I hear you say that 510 is slotted to be a four-way arterial road? Four lane, sorry?
Mr. Deputy Mayor, through you to Madam Mayor. Yes, in the long run, the corridor is actually anticipated currently as a 6-lane. That is on that 75-year to 100-year horizon, but in the 20, 25 to maybe 30 years even, there is an anticipated 4-laning twinning of the 510 corridor.
Okay, so that's not something when you do the circle you're going to be putting in, it's going to be down the road?
Correct. It'll remain 2-lane road as it is, just with the intersection improvement.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Hyde.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Just looking at a few different things, the roundabout that we're looking at putting together, is there any cost sharing with Leduc County because it's going to be the upgrade to that entire 510, or is that solely going to be on us because it'll be obviously off-site levies that will be paying for that? So that's my first question.
Yeah, Mr. Deputy Mayor, through you. So the funding would come from levies. So it's a levy-funded project, front-ended, of course, and recovered future, but
So no cost share with Leduc County whatsoever?
no, we are informing both the City of Edmonton as well as Leduc County and City of Leduc that the project is occurring, and this was our preferred design plan, but there's no cost-sharing planned.
All right, the second one is the signage on the pickleball site. You didn't mention anything about that. Will that go up on the fencing as well where the pickleball site is so that we know we can tell our pickleball community that it is coming? That's you. Steve.
Through the chair to Councillor Hyde, with that project, as it's not an approved construction project, the plan was not to put signage up there. Signage would follow an approved project. So the design is complete, but there would be no plan to put a sign up because construction has not been approved.
All right, I can see that. And the last question is with the Russo, with the area there that's going to have the baseball diamond and the soccer field, any cost sharing with the school that is there because they'll be using that facility, especially on the maintenance side of it going forward, that type of thing? Is there going to be any cost sharing with the school board for that?
Through the mayor to Councillor Hyde, there is no budget for this school, and so there is no cost-sharing arrangement for that project.
So if they're using it, there would be no lease, nothing like that. They can use it at their discretion, and we're going to be paying for the upgrades and the maintenance to that.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, back to you.
Thank you, yes. So about the sports park as well. So if this is open to the public, can you direct me to where the parking is? Is that right to the left of the field? Is that going to be designated parking? Just curious how the flow will be there.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, through you. That's a great question. So there is on-street parking available, but the intent for larger programs would include the school parking lot. So they typically occur outside of school hours. If it's soccer or baseball events such as that, the parking would be supported at the school site.
Okay, so there's no plans for extra parking in case the school has an event happening and the field has an event happening at the same time?
Correct. We're hoping folks can schedule those appropriately.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Natellenboss, you're up.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just a quick question in regards to, I guess, protection barriers between the two fields. Obviously, baseball going onto the soccer field is worrisome, and vice versa, soccer ball going onto the play field for baseball. Is there any protective measures planned to be in place to prevent that?
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. That is a consideration we're looking into for the fencing and the height of the fence that would separate the ball diamond from the soccer pitch at this time. So still to be determined.
Perfect, thank you.
Councillor Colesmith.
Thank you. Yeah, again, I was the same train of thought, errant balls into the other, is possible just to rotate that ball diamond the other way?
Thank you, Mr. Deputy. We did have it rotated at one point, and the concern was actually more around the foul balls. So when it's rotated the other direction, the foul ball is more likely than a home run. So while that is a consideration, this was the preferred orientation based on our feedback from both the baseball and soccer.
Okay, fair enough.
Councillor Panerod, you're up.
Yeah, thanks, Deputy Mayor. I just wanted to draw a line under that. That's kind of what I expected to. Like lots of people, I looked at the configuration originally and thought, that doesn't make sense on the face of it to me. But once the design happens, then we consult with minor ball and minor soccer and the school and residents as well, I think was all included in the report. So this, what we have in front of us is the preferred orientation given the feedback of all those groups. Is that fair?
Yes, Mr. Deputy Mayor, through you, that is correct. So we recently, as near as last week, touched base with those groups, and this was the agreed upon solution for the space as it sits. There was additional concern with balls maybe going in. There is a storm pond just to the east of the soccer pitch. So we are considering that as well. So looking at maybe putting in some kind of a barrier structure or more planting to help assuage the concerns of the soccer club having their balls floating in the storm.
And I imagine there's a similar explanation for why the baseball field is closer to the school than the soccer pitch.
I believe they did go through every opportunity or every option from orientation perspectives, and this was the preferred and best use of space.
Good. Yeah, so this is not us trying to micromanage up here. It's just asking you the questions we're going to get, right? So the standard protocol is the design happens and then all the user groups are consulted, and to the extent possible, we take their feedback into consideration and come up with a workable solution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Hyde, you're up.
Yeah, just one final question. Is there plans for a pathway from the south side of that green space across the bottom or the south side of École 4 Saisons? So it can, they can walk from the parking lot from the south side straight over to the green space, and also connect pathways from the south side, from all the way from Four Seasons Park, past the school, and then past the pond and everything like that. So the south side, there should be some sort of a pathway. If you're going to fill in that that water, where the water is going to be, can we not do a pathway across the pond or the north side of that pond so we can get from one side to the other more efficiently?
Yeah, Mr. Deputy Mayor, through you to Councillor Hyde, it's a good observation. That hasn't been contemplated within the scope of the project. It will be a walkable field, of course, but from an accessibility perspective, we haven't contemplated extending a trail system through to the school site. The north end, of course, is accessible through the sidewalk running the full width of the two fields, but the south side hasn't, we did not contemplate that, no.
Steve. So yeah, that's it. Just from my observation, again, just looking at this, if we're planning for the parking to be at the school, then they have to walk all the way. If they want to stay accessibility wise, they have to walk all the way around the north side of the school in order to get to the park. Whereas if there was some walkway from the south side straight to the park, then you have accessibility, right? People with accessibility options and such like that don't as far to go. Just an observation, I'm sure just for you guys to take back. I think that if we're filling in that stormwater ditch there, it might be the easiest way to do it, just connect that pathway right there. So just an observation.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Any other comments on this one? So I'll just highlight myself that on Township Road 510 and Range Road 243, the keywords I heard were complex and challenging. So just want to underscore that and ask in advance for community patience on December 16th, because we're going to have that when it comes time to be done. But we'll all be better for it once that challenging piece is done. So that said, we'll move on to item 5.2, Youth Advisory Committee Annual Report. And Mr. Pickford. I'll let you get the logistics looked after there. If you hit your button, I'll turn your mic on. Or not. There we go.
Good to go?
Yeah, good to go. And then just
right.
as you speak, just make sure that maybe pull the microphone towards you a little bit more, and then just kind of give it a wiggle as you guys share, and that helps the sound travel the best. So over to you, and it looks like you got the clicker. So
All right, well, we'll see if we can get that clicker working. I'm not too...
give it a go. We're patient.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Thank you for creating some time for us this evening. My name is Brad Pickford. I'm the supervisor of the Chantal Brew Bay Youth Center here in the great city of Beaumont, and fortunate enough to also be the administrator that works with the Youth Advisory Committee.
And hello and good evening. I'm Hendrika Fankannel. It is my second year on the Youth Advisory Committee, and we are very happy to be sharing some information with you guys today.
So we'll provide just some quarterly information, pretty high-level info as to what the Youth Advisory Committee has been doing over the last year. And, of course, I didn't hit the right button here, so we'll try that one. There we go. So I came on a bit late in the first quarter, in and around March. There was a switch. The former administrator had moved on, so we picked up from where the last administrator, Brody, had left off. So we met as a new committee and discussed some roles and responsibilities, because I was finding at that time, along with the committee, there's a little bit of confusion as to what our role was. Just for a little bit of context, the Youth Advisory Committee is made up of a group of 6 young people from Beaumont, aging 18 to 22 years old. So all of them are either in high school or very busy students and or working. So we had some discussions around what we wanted our committee to be taking on. We also discussed and devised our work plan. So we were off to a bit of a late start with actually getting our work plan done. We were well into our first quarter before we really formalized what we wanted that to look like. But fortunately for us, we had some support from Legal and Ledge Services, which really supported us to understand the process of what committee work should and could look like. And that was things as simple as even making motions and chairing meetings, which we're still actually kind of working through a little bit. It's harder than it seems. So we have some respect for what you find folks have to go through every day.
Awesome. And then also in our first quarter, we reviewed the current bylaw pertaining to the ages of our members, and at the end of their terms, we're able to discuss that, and we came to the conclusion that us as a committee would generally prefer to have our members finish their term versus simply aging out of the program by the time they're 22.
Bringing us to the second quarter, we were fortunate enough to have some collaboration with the Arts Advisory Committee to discuss a possible art installation at the CBYC. So that was really good for our group of young people, because it gave us some kind of purpose and some tasks to work on. I just want to make sure which one you were going to take on which point. That's the last one. The Youth Advisory Committee members, or the YAC members, attended the Youth Empowerment Conference, which supported the members to do their committee work more efficiently and formally. So that was really good for the majority of members who were able to attend. They were supported through the City of Beaumont to attend in collaboration with some of the other municipalities that have youth advisory committees. They were able to come back and share that information with the group to formalize things for us as well. And that amendment was put forward to Council, Mayor and Council, around membership requirements and our concerns around the age requirements, and that was approved in June.
And anecdotally, working through our work plan in the first quarter, we came to kind of the revelation that youth employment was a concern amongst our peers and our counterparts. So we decided to push forward potentially developing a youth employment survey specifically for businesses to kind of check our biases, to confirm if what we understood from our peers was really happening. And we've put that forward to the Economic Development Group for review and feedback at this point.
Our third quarter, I was able to conduct a really generalized, what we call a SWOT analysis, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, but really just to get us, again, some focus as to what our young group wanted to look at doing as they move forward, doing their committee work. Really brought us together as a group, and kind of, again, my focus as the administration has been to try and formalize the work that the group is doing, rather than having that as a meeting that we're having once a month and just talking about things and not really actioning anything. So that SWOT analysis was really helpful in kind of formalizing our group. Throw that second point to you, Andrew.
Awesome. And then we were able to support the Arts Advisory Committee to shortlist their artists for the mural at the CBYC. This was really awesome in particular because we were able to kind of discuss parts of like youth engagement that we might be able to integrate into making the mural. We thought maybe it'd be a good idea if the artists could have local youth at the Beaumont Composite come in and potentially participate in building that mural, partially as a way to give young people the opportunity to be a part of, beautifying the space, and because it's for young people, right? And also as an opportunity, kind of like a informal work experience, especially in kind of a niche sector like art.
It also gave the few members that were able to attend some insight as to what procurement processes look like through the city of Beaumont. I know the two members that were able to attend came back and were really impressed with the discussions that occurred around being cognizant about favoritism and cost, and not solely relying on cost alone, and what that looks like, and more of a formalized and civic kind of approach to the work. Finally, several youth were able to meet, several youth from the CBYC were able to meet with members of the Youth Advisory Committee and some then mayor and some members of council, just to talk about youth-related issues in Beaumont. And we were really impressed with some of the teens from the CBYC that spoke about things that we hadn't even really thought about, like issues in school that they're seeing, concerns that they have around vaping, worries around transport in and around Beaumont and things like that. So we were really impressed to see how insightful some of our teens were and are. Taking us into the fourth quarter, we were able to collaborate with myself as administration. We were forced to take a look at what we were planning for, what we're calling the teen takeover, that should read, which had been planned for November, but unfortunately we considered having to push that back because of the extended pool closure. We had put quite a bit of time and attention into that. We put out a survey to the community and found that the pool obviously was going to be a big part and a big draw for our young people, and we wanted that to be a success, so we consulted with the Youth Advisory Committee and just garnered their opinion as to whether or not we should push it off, and it was unanimous that they supported pushing it off to March. So we're now looking at March 27th, just before spring break. And then participating with events as well. This is was a really interesting piece where members of the Youth Advisory Committee were approached by administration, the events department, to garner some information around how they could play a role in the upcoming events through 2026, as well as just to get some opinion from the youth perspective about events throughout Beaumont and how they can include young people in the events that happen throughout the year. And that brings us to today. So finally, how might Madam Mayor and Council support the Youth Advisory Committee? As I've mentioned, I've told the committee we're in our infancy, even though we're 2 years in. Wonderful group of young people, and we'll have a group of new young people joining us in 2026 that are onboarding with us. But what we would ask is that Madam Mayor and Council think of us as they're collecting information or they're faced with youth issues, and sometimes it's not so apparent how decisions that are made through through council will impact young people. We do have a group of 6 young people right now that are happy to take on some legwork. So I know that you folks are always gathering information and looking for consultation, and this is a great way to engage young people in Beaumont and have a group of young people do some of that legwork for you. So we're also in consultation with some of our partners with other municipalities, and one of the other administrators kind of chuckles. She works for FCSS, and she was saying, you know, I really remember the early days when we were devising a youth advisory committee, because it was like we didn't have an identity either. And now when decisions are being made, even with programs that are happening throughout the city, be that at their rec centers or other community programs, Mayor and Council often says, you know what, let's get the Youth Advisory Committee to do some work around this and come back and make some recommendations or bring us a report. So if there's some consideration there for us, we're happy to take some of that on. And any questions, we're happy to try and answer them.
Great, thank you. It does take a while to find your legs in those types of committees, and I'm happy to hear that practicing making motions and, you know, chairing a meeting and stuff is a thing, because it is a fairly useful skill. People just don't understand it, how often you might just have to do that. So looking at the screen here, it looks like we have Councillor Hyde up first, followed by Councillor Penrod.
Yeah, thanks so much for the presentation. I had the extreme pleasure of meeting with you guys last month, and it was an incredible meeting. What a strong group, you know, coming together really well, and great ideas. I just like the collaboration between you all, that you're all willing to share between each other, and nobody's talking over another person. They're just really trying to collaborate and figure out, where do we find this? I'm disappointed, of course, that Brighten Up Beaumont didn't work for you guys. That would have been fantastic to get your name out there and have a booth, and just, you know, I know you were planning and you were really excited about getting around that. And I think I was very excited for you too. I thought it would have been a great event to get the name out, and hopefully we can find some other ways of doing that over the next quarter or so, because you're not going to get one person out there that doesn't think that this committee is very sorely needed. You're our future, and we know that, and we want to support you as council, and I'm sure that administration is 1,000% behind you as well. So this is really important that we hear from the youth of today, because you'll be looking after me one day, so you better be watching out. But the one thing I wanted you to speak about is what I was really excited about, is the possibility of the convention coming up in October, and if you could speak to council about that and some of the plans that are going on around that.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Councillor Hyde, through Mr. Deputy Mayor. Fortunately enough, we and kind of a coalition of a lot of the other municipalities in and around Edmonton in Alberta have been meeting monthly to discuss the possibility and planning of a regional youth committee conference for youth advisory committees in different parts like Spruce Grove and New Sarepta and St. Albert and things like that. So we're currently at the stage of planning where we are looking for, where do we want to have this? Who are our keynote speakers? Like, what is our fundamental goal of this conference? And that's currently what we've been doing.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think that a lot of us here are going to be looking forward to something like that, bringing other ideas into our city and having other people come into the city as far as youth committees is collaborative, and it's fantastic. And I think that you're going to find that your business community here, your local business community here, would be more than happy to have speakers that'll come and speak at your event for no cost. I know that there'll be quite a few that will. And we just want to get behind this 100% as far as council goes. As far as myself goes, I'm there for you the whole time. So I'm really excited about the things you guys are going to do in the next year.
Thank you. Councillor Penrod, you're up.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor, and well said, Councillor Hyde. Just wanted to give a couple words of encouragement. Ms. Fancanel did a great job presenting tonight. I know when you started, you were a high school member, and now seeing you in front of us, I see your University of Alberta water bottle.
Oh, I see.
So the years go by, and you made great progress. I think I read that this is your last official duty as part of the committee, right? Your time is ending, so just go ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Penrod, through Mr. Deputy Mayor. Currently, I am finishing my first term, but I have not exceeded my age limit, so I will be staying on for a second.
Hey, well, that's great news. Thank you. And just a word of recognition, I think Mr. Pickford alluded to this, but I know one of the tricky things with this committee getting started was that we rolled through several admin support people in fairly quick succession just because of other changes within the organization. So I just wanted to acknowledge the work that's happened since you took on this responsibility, the consistency you brought to it, and the care and attention with our youth, I think has been, we're seeing that in spades in what's going on at the Chantal Berube Youth Center, but so we certainly see it with this group too, and look forward to the great things ahead. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, thank you so much for the work that you do at the Youth Center. And I love what I'm hearing in terms of you've combined structure, focus, and just practical experience. I think that's so valuable to our youth, especially where there is difficulty finding work, and it just kind of gives them a place to test out and learn some things in a safe environment. So thank you for bringing that. I don't know if that's all that was in there before, if that's something new that you brought into it, but I love the concept of even within the community finding ways for them to volunteer and kind of test out the waters in terms of learning some new skills. So thank you for the leadership that you bring to that. And you want to say something in regards to that?
Yeah, sorry, just a quick piece there. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for that acknowledgement. We really appreciate it, Madam Mayor, through Mr. Deputy Mayor. Our current goal with our development survey with youth is specifically like building a foundation of evidence of showing that, hey, these businesses also say that there are barriers to hiring youth and what those barriers may be. So as we continue throughout our committee, we can come up with potential solutions. Like whether that's, potentially young people, we found them to be unreliable. How can we support them through that? Or resumes aren't the best. How can we support them in building their resume? Like that's the kind of thing that we want to be able to focus on actual practical things that we can do. And that is the goal of our survey currently.
I love that. And I think that just helps all around build confidence and competency. So I just applaud you for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments, Mayor, and seeing no one else wishing to speak, thank you very much for coming in tonight and the presentation and the attention to detail, and more importantly, the level of engagement that you're bringing to the youth in the center through to the Youth Advisory Committee, and you did a wonderful job tonight presenting, so congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you for your time.
Look at us moving along here at 5:38. Mr. Suter, 5.3, the Recreation and Culture Advisory Committee Annual Report is next on the docket.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Committee. Paul Suter, Director of Community Services. I'm pleased to be here this evening for a couple of reports. The first one up is from the Recreation and Culture Advisory Committee. I'm pleased to be joined by the Chair, who has guided us with a steady hand all year long, Mr. Kashmir Gill. You're going to get to go up to the mic there, Mr. Gill, in a sec. This is part of the process. The committees come annually to present to Council based on the work that they've done throughout the year and what some of the initiatives they may be planning for the upcoming year. As part of the mandate for this particular committee is to identify and engage stakeholder groups that seek their input on the work of the committee, conduct research, prepare reports if necessary on matters within the committee's mandate, as well to provide council and administration with some guidance and some feedback on policies and any recommendations they see fit. This is, I think, year 6 of this committee, and it is really maturing and evolving, and it's just become a real joy to see where we're at today. And I'll turn over to Kashmir. He can go through some of the stuff we've highlighted for the year. We only have one slide, so if we can just keep this one up until he gives us the thumbs up for the one he wants to reveal, and then we'll go forward. Thank you.
Great introduction, and Kashmir, I'll send it over to you, and our timing is good, so you're off.
Thanks, Paul. Mayor and members of Council, thank you for the opportunity to present the Recreation and Culture Advisory's annual update. Our mandate is to provide advice on recreation, sports, leisure, heritage, community events, and volunteerism, areas that directly shape Beaumont's quality of life and sense of belonging. So briefly on the committee's work, we heard directly from user groups such as Beaumont Soccer, minor baseball, both of which are experiencing strong growth and increased demand. We also heard from a group that wanted to donate a mini rink for stick hockey, which, as you know, has been placed in the Beaumont Recreation Sports Center. We also reviewed infrastructure and facility planning related to pickleball courts, baseball diamonds, sports fields, and the cenotaph, which I believe Councillor Penrod put forward that idea, ensuring community voices and practical considerations were reflected in our feedback. A recurring theme this year was growth, both in participation and expectations. Pickleball participation continues to rise, and the committee provided input on potential sites, emphasizing accessibility, parking, and active transportation sports such as bike racks. Playground needs were another priority. We heard from a called Bow Meadow School, where a 26-year-old playground is no longer fully safe or inclusive. The committee discussed partnership opportunities, including service clubs and naming rights, recognizing that school playgrounds also are important community assets. The committee also focused on how Beaumont honors its history and community achievements. We provided advice on the cenotaph design, as mentioned earlier, its location, and identifying the Beaumont Sports and Recreation Center as a preferred site due to visibility, accessibility, and its connection to Remembrance Day services. We also explored the future of the St. Jacques Heritage House and began foundational work on a potential Beaumont Hall of Fame to recognize sports, recreation, and cultural achievements, particularly with an eye to inspiring our youth. In terms of programming, events, and innovation, the committee discussed cross-country ski trail challenges, youth-led park improvement ideas, and emerging approaches to civic celebrations. We reviewed the possibility of drone shows as a safe alternative to fireworks, and recommended that this be considered as part of the city's broader festival and event strategy. In closing, overall, the committee's work reflects Beaumont's growth, its strong volunteer base, and the need for thoughtful, inclusive planning. We appreciate council's support and the opportunity to engage with administration and community partners. The committee remains committed to providing thoughtful, community-informed advice that strengthens Beaumont's recreation, culture, heritage, and volunteer landscape. The committee also wishes to thank Paul Suter and Karen Gilbert, who we understand has moved on, for their advice and counsel during the year. I personally want to express my gratitude to all the committee members, Ron Barnhart, who served as a vice chair, Jen Absland, Emmanuel Upshapong, Deborah Barron, Mark Hebert, Tyree McCracken, and Marion Wolfe. And a special thank you to Councillor Steve Van Nieuwkerk, who served on this committee, for his contributions and wise counsel. Happy to take your questions. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Suter. I see you're blinking there.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had one job here to push the button, and I didn't even do it. So
Drum roll.
I was supposed to time that perfectly, and I failed miserably. That's just what Kashmir was alluding to there.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Any questions for Mr. Gill tonight on the presentation? I'll put forward a solution of this committee has, you know, most simply, even last term, run the schedule for the rinks by the Recreation, Parks and Culture Committee, because the name has changed over time, through to what do you think about the cenotaph? Where should it go? Feedback associated with that. Numerous conversations around pickleball, which I think we've landed in a good spot despite not being funded for construction yet. But I think the combination of parking stalls, location, and the fact that there's 8 there, gives a great jumping off point. We also had conversation around cross-country skiing that come through, and then we have, the word is getting out that it is helpful for groups to come see the committee, talk to the group, see if there's support, and use it as a starting point for ideas and initiatives. So we even had the one initiative come forward that we'll call it cleaning the dog park, right? Is maybe socially acceptable way of saying what they wanted to do out there, and then Mr. Suter was able to work internally to help that group get organized and get some permits and find their way forward. So the evolution of that committee has been really great. So I see one microphone on, or no? No. Oh, yeah, there you go. Oh, that one went dark.
Perfect. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I probably speak for everyone here, but obviously speak for myself. Whether it's this committee, whether it's the Youth Advisory Committee, whether it's Arts Advisory Committee, all the work that's put into this is significant and really appreciated. It really does give another avenue for the general public to express their wants, their needs, and for us to come up with solutions and educated solutions in the sense that we're getting feedback from everyone. So I appreciate all the work you do, all the work the committee does, all the work administration does to make this happen as well. But we wouldn't be able to see the success that we have seen out of these committees without everyone that volunteers their time. So just appreciate it. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Gill. Thank you, Mr. Suter, for pressing the button eventually. And you might get some reprieve here because I think you're up next again. So item 5.4 of the Arts Advisory Committee Annual Report. Mr. Suter, back to yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll try and push the button this time. So same thing, Arts Advisory with the steady hand of Art and present the annual report. Again, evolution of a committee that was an Arts Council is now an Arts Advisory Committee with great structure, great focus, and we've accomplished amazing things this year, and I'll let him talk to that. I'll turn over to Martin. You want to give me a nod when to push the button, or what do you think?
You got your finger on the trigger there?
Yeah.
Welcome, Martin. Your mic is on, and welcome back to Chambers. I know you're not a stranger in here, and over to you.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Committee of the Whole. Report from the Arts Advisory Committee for 2025, of which I have the honour to be the chair. So, mandate of the Arts Committee is, I'm sure you know, are we going to present the actual report here as well? No? Okay. Is it in the agenda package? Has everybody read it?
Yeah.
Okay,
We've got it here, and
okay,
you'll have your slides there. Yeah.
So we'll just do the slideshow. I'll come to that in a minute. All right, so the mandate is recommend allocations to council and arts grant applications, to review applications for arts grants and recommend allocations to council and provide strategic guidance and recommendations to council on integrating art into Beaumont's public spaces, strategies for promoting local artists, and to me this is the biggie, strengthening community identity, civic pride through diverse artistic impressions, because that's how you build a sense of identity, municipal engagement, a sense of pride, of civic pride in where we live and that this place belongs to us. So in terms of reference, I think I don't need to go through with you. We've had we have no less than 5 and up to 9 public members, 1 member of council and an alternate. So I'd like to thank Kathy Barnhart, no longer on council, but she did a great job in helping us through, and also Councillor Penrod, who was her alternate on a number of occasions. We've had 3 resignations through the course of the year, and I think we still have 1 to replace, don't we? But many terms are expiring at the end of this year, so we should have a full slate at the beginning of next year again. Right, what did we do this year? One of the biggest things is the discussion and the allocation of grants. I was here just a few weeks ago, it seems, with the second tranche of those. We also I'll show you the other two things we did. Actually, this would be a good point to go to the slide deck. So one of the first things we did was, one of the first successes of the year was the creation of an arts hub space. I think we're calling it the Art Hub at the moment, although there were various proposals. It was originally the Ken Nicol banqueting facility. My kids used to take dance lessons in there. But, so this has been, the committee identified a need for an art space that would be usable for a variety of artistic creations and also some storage. So this facility was underutilized and was redeveloped with, as you can see, improved drapes and lighting, improved soundproofing. There's a kitchen facility which was no longer in use and was cluttered, was emptied and redesignated as a storage area. We've also been able to acquire a portable stage that can be erected in this, so this could be used for public presentation too. The photograph shows the Arts Association put on an annual arts event here. You can see the room dressed for that with various artworks hanging on the walls, and they had I think it was a 2-day event there. One of the briefs was also to establish a rental rate for it so that various societies could use it for this purpose, and the Artists Association is also using it for storage of art materials and the stuff that they need to run programs. So very pleased with that outcome. I think it clearly addresses an important need. I'm looking at it, renting it myself, because I'm going to be putting together a one-act show to go out to the Yellowhead Regional One-Acts later next year. So that sort of opportunity then exists. All right, can we go to the next slide, please? So there was the timeline for it. September, Spaces to Perform and Create survey went out, and that's how we identified the need. October, open house to see potential venue option. I wandered around that building before it had been completed, along with a whole group of other stakeholders, I suppose I should say, various representatives of various arts groups within the town. Okay, could we go to the next one, please? The other big project we undertook was we identified there was an opportunity to beautify and create some artistic expression by putting a mural on the side of the Chantal Berube Community Youth Centre. That's the main wall where the mural will go. That is the north wall, so facing towards Saint Vital Church. And we we put out an RFQ earlier this year. We had a huge number of applicants, I think 15. We whittled that down by deliberation with the committee to a short list of 3, then invited those in for discussion and presentation. Very impressive with the art that was available with the artists and the work that they were able to do. Selected one. Can I say who it is? It's on there. So it is, yes. Josh Harnack was the eventual, and there's the timeline for that as well. So again, a lot of work to do that, and an interesting process in terms of, certainly for me, and I think for other committee members, in terms of what you initially suppose is not what you end up choosing. So good opportunity to see new things. Certainly the presentation by the artists was changed my mind about exactly what was to be done. Did we manage to get, yes we did. Okay, this is a conceptual, this is actually one of his, Josh's earlier murals, so this is not necessarily what we'll get at all. But you can see the quality of the work, and he's also committed to doing a whole engagement process with the youth centre. Oh, there's more. I didn't realise you got as many as these in, Paul. He's committed to doing an engagement process with youth groups so that the finished product reflects their interests and ideas, and to engage in them even in the process of doing some of the painting, I believe. So, those are our two big projects aside from the Arts Grants Awards, and I'm happy to take any questions appointed to this committee.
So you're back for more. Well,
yeah, obviously they'll need to, the first duty of business will be to select a new chair, so it might not be me. But I'm looking forward to continuing with the committee, yes.
That's great. Just looking to committee members. Councillor Murray, let me get your mic on, and over to you.
Thank you for coming and doing this presentation. In regards to the art wall that we wanted to put onto the CBYC, you kind of said there's going to be a little bit of engagement in regards to what that might look like. Do we have any ideas what sort of style that we're looking at putting out there? Or is it going to be sort of the more youthful sort of graffiti style art, or is there any sort of indication on that?
That will emerge as part of the engagement process. Yes, some of Josh's works is a very graffiti style, but by no means all of it is. A lot is a much more naturalistic style. It generally has some quirk, some aspect of humor, or what's
like light.
But I can't answer you specifically what. We did have, he did provide some conceptual art as well, that will emerge as a process, as part of the engagement, and that was part of the RFQ, that this was not just off the peg art to fit the space available, but it was something that would engage the community and be an expression of Beaumont and the people who live here.
Mm-hmm. And so was there one thing that led you to choose Josh? What can you tell us? What was the
what led the committee to choose Josh was the strength of the portfolio that he presented and the presentation that he gave primarily, and also, as I've alluded to, the fact that he had a very clear plan for engaging youth and residents as part of the process.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. I'm very excited to see as this process goes along. Thanks so much for your presentation tonight.
Mr. Suter?
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to answer that a little bit further to Martin's comments there. That whole process was amazing because we alluded to it there with the Youth Advisory Committee. They were engaged from the beginning. It was actually their idea that brought this forward. It was two committees working together. We did a proper proposal, went out, got a bunch of artists interested, and then Josh and a couple others presented, and it was a combination of the two committees that scored and watched the presentations and engaged. And they chose Josh, and I think part of his strength was that engagement plan that he has laid out. He was performing or doing an artist in residency in France, and he's just coming back now, I think. So starting in January, he will start the engagement process actively with Mr. Pickford from the Youth Center, including trying to get the high school involved. So it's going to be quite a collaborative effort, but for what it's going to end up, we're not sure. We're looking at 3 surfaces there at the Youth Center. The whole intention of that project was to draw more attention, make it more welcoming. So whatever flows from that creativity will be fascinating.
So we could still be looking at committee chair Stout on a bike. You never know, it might end up there. So, Councillor Hyde, over to you.
Yeah, thank you for doing all this work and working with the youth, especially. It's really, really important, obviously, that we have them engaged. I think, that's where we want to make sure that there is that engagement, especially around the arts in Beaumont. I'm hoping that there's other projects in the works like this, because we don't have enough of these art projects that are going on in Beaumont, in my opinion anyways, that beautify Beaumont and bring culture back to our city, especially around heritage. And I'm hoping this will have some sort of a heritage slant to it in some way or other, paying homage back to the forefathers that we've had here in the past and have started Beaumont. I think that's really important to have that heritage moment in that. Any of that art. This is all obviously up to the youth, but going forward, it'd be great to see some art projects that really show what Beaumont's character is and what Beaumont is all about. And I know that it's in good hands with you, so just hoping that there's going to be future projects like that.
Yep, that's my hope and expectation too, yes.
Mayor, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Stout, for that presentation, and thank you for your leadership to this advisory committee too. I think it's amazing that we can put projects together like this that can beautify a space at the same time, create a sense of identity and belonging, and I love art for that, a way of telling a story. And just to piggyback on what Councillor Hyde was saying about telling a story of who we are, where we've come from, and maybe who we're becoming as a city. So I appreciate the time and effort the whole committee has put into this. And I love the fact that we're also showcasing local talent and really giving a sense of ownership. So I look forward to seeing how all that unfolds. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Perfect. And with that, I don't see any other members looking to speak. Thank you, Martin, for coming by. Thanks for your duties, and I look forward to hearing from you again in the future.
I hope so too. Thank you.
Thanks. That brings us to item 5.5 on the meeting tonight, the parental leave bylaw, and I believe, Clerk, you'll be speaking to this one. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, committee members. I'm Joanne Dargy, the Director of Legal and Legislative Services. I'm here to present the draft parental leave bylaw to committee to obtain I also have Donna Montney, Director of People Services with me here tonight if you have questions that I'm not able to answer. Before I start actually presenting the general terms of the bylaw, I do want to indicate that this bylaw is being brought back or was drafted in response to a council motion to bring back such a bylaw. Full disclosure, council had requested that this be brought back by Q2 2025. As we were drafting it and preparing the report, we realized our mistake, so I take full responsibility for that and apologize for it being late. And we'll also acknowledge that to council when we present it to council. So the bylaw purpose is to ensure that when a councillor takes parental leave, that they are not disqualified from being a council member. If a councillor is absent from regular council meetings for 60 consecutive days, they are automatically disqualified from sitting on council. So this parental leave bylaw would balance the needs of being a new parent as well as the responsibilities of being a member of council and being in alignment with the MGA. The MGA does provide for a parental leave bylaw if council so chooses to establish one. So some of the terms of the draft bylaw are that parental leave may begin up to 12 weeks before or 12 weeks after the birth or adoption of a child. The leave cannot exceed the maximum number of consecutive weeks established by council, and if council chooses to establish a regulation that allows for an extension of the leave, that extension cannot go beyond that extension as provided for in the bylaw. The councillor going on leave would be required to provide 6 weeks written notice to the mayor and CAO unless there are exigent circumstances. So that would be something that they couldn't provide the notice, ending up in the hospital or something like that. So notice must include the proposed start date of the leave, the anticipated length of leave, expected return date, and any of those circumstances as to why they couldn't provide notice within 6 weeks. Before commencing leave, the bylaw requires that the counselor enter into a parental leave agreement. This sets out the parameters under which the counselor will be on leave. So it indicates any duties that the counselor will continue during the leave. There is no obligation under the bylaw for a counselor to continue providing any duties, but if they so wish, those would be laid out in the agreement. It would also outline how any remaining duties would be fulfilled, so what other counselor would be fulfilling the duties of the counselor that's on leave, would identify any accommodations that might be needed for the counselor to continue doing some of their duties, and includes the signature of any other counselor who is covering. They are required to enter into the agreement as well. If the counselor on leave is appointed to a board or committee and will not continue in that role, council will appoint an alternate representative. So that's any of those that you've been appointed by council, and then any councillors not on leave will continue to represent the city at large. This is a general term, even though we don't have wards or anything like that. The bylaws that we looked at in the region that were council at large had a similar clause in it. And it's just to continue, just to provide clarity that there isn't anything that changes for the current councillors. The counselor on parental leave would receive remuneration equivalent to what employees receive as a maximum employment insurance benefit. They may choose to participate in council activities during leave, but they would not receive any additional remuneration. Allowances, so that would be things like your connectivity allowance, would continue during the leave. Councillors who wish to maintain benefits coverage would pay the full cost of their benefits during the leave. So that applies to part-time and full-time councillors. Specifically, what we're looking for feedback on is when we looked at a number of bylaws in the region and elsewhere, there was a range of the maximum number of consecutive weeks to be taken for leave, and they ranged from 16 weeks to 26 weeks. There was also a few options where if they were 16 weeks, there might be an option to extend that up to 26 weeks. And an attachment 2 were the municipal comparators that we did look at. Administration is considering or recommending that 26 weeks would be the maximum number of consecutive weeks without an option to extend. If there was another option, it would be 16 weeks, and then council could extend that up to 26 weeks if they wanted to. So that's the bylaw kind of in a nutshell. We're looking for any comments on the general terms of the bylaw itself, as well as specifically on the number of weeks of leave that council would be comfortable with.
Order list, it does show some variability in the region, but this seems to be a topic, I believe, that is probably going to have more and more consideration as time goes on. I think as we talk through this and make decisions in this room, I think, that might spur other councils to start thinking about the same or maybe looking to do updates. So, as Ms. Dargy had said, this is the time for general comments or questions on this, and ultimately this will come back to council and, for decision. But tonight would be the time for, comments and input on what's been presented in front of us. So, Councillor Murray, I see your microphone on, and over to you.
Thank you. What is the federal government regulations on number of weeks for maternity leave? Is there something in that? Because I thought that was a guideline for anyone. And maybe it's different because it's considered part-time, but I thought it was the same.
Yeah, over to you, Ms. Botany.
Yes, Donna Montney, Director of People Services. The federal government tells you what you could get paid under employment insurance, and so employees can get paid up to 18 months It's 12 months of pay at a certain percentage or at a reduced percentage at 18 months. But council doesn't fall under employment standards, so it doesn't apply to council members.
Okay, thank you. That's kind of what I wanted to know, just to see if that was something that we had to consider, because of course that's much longer. Anyway, I think that 20 week or 26 weeks is a fairly decent amount of time. You know, as a parent, usually by then you've got a fairly good schedule established, and therefore you could, you know, make yourself available for the meetings and other types of duties that come along with being a council member. So I think that 26 weeks would be a decent amount of time.
Thank you for your thoughts. Yeah, and the absence of any direction anywhere else is kind of what is what led to this. So I think that's that's what this body of work is about, is to try and find that standard. And I agree with you. Like, put me in camp for option 2 as well. I think that's probably a good spot to land. Councillor Penrod, I have you next.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, so just to start off, thanks to Ms. Dargy for we've talked a lot about transparency and accountability in the past couple months, and really appreciate the accountability there, just to acknowledge that this is behind schedule. Also note, as one of the councillors that brought this forward and asked for the report, we didn't notice either. So we set these schedules and then things change, and I know that your department in particular has had a lot of extra work that's come your way through provincial legislation changes and different orders from the Minister of Municipal Affairs. So, but appreciate the accountability that you showed, acknowledging that. I think the goal of bringing this forward is to get it right, not to get it right on a particular date, but so that going forward, we might remove some barriers for any resident contemplating running for council to just remove barriers from that happening, and acknowledging that the work of council happens best when it's when all of our residents can see themselves represented up here. And so that's the spirit of these things. Thanks for doing the work on the comparator municipalities. I think as I reviewed the list of comparators, I kind of come down on the option 3. So I say that before I get to my questions, just because option 2 has been thrown out there. It seems to be a fair few, and especially the municipalities more our size are more at the 16 weeks. I'm not opposed to the 26, and maybe that's the way it lands, is that it's less administrative hassle to just grant the 26 weeks. Not everybody would. The way that this is set up is that an individual basically has to make a proposal that has to be, by my reading, signed off by council. So 26 is just a maximum. It's not necessary that every person that is availing themselves of this policy would take the full 26 weeks, but that's just where my initial thoughts were. A couple pieces I wanted to zero in on. The first that stuck out to me was this idea of there's notice required to avail yourself of this perk or option. But it mentions that there's 6 weeks written notice unless exigent circumstances exist. Just occurs to me that exigent doesn't seem to have a nailed down definition, and it's not clear in the policy or in the bylaw around who determines if it, so maybe you could just speak to that, how that mechanic would work if a person is applying. Is there sort of a standard definition of exigent, or how would council of the day determine that?
Through the chair to Councillor Penrod. So the circumstances would be, so exigent, first of all, we would take the Webster's Dictionary if it's not defined in the bylaw. And then who would determine whether those circumstances are acceptable would be between the CAO and the mayor, because that would be laid out in the agreement.
Okay, so that would be a conversation between the person applying and the mayor and the CEO. That's the way the bylaw is written. That's how the procedure would roll through.
Correct.
And then is there need, once that application is made or notice is given, conversation happens with the mayor and the CEO, does it ultimately have to come back to council to be enacted, or? So it's an agreement that's kind of negotiated or navigated between those three parties, or 2 or 3 parties, because the mayor could apply for this too, right? And then once it's signed off on, then it's just good to go, or?
That's correct. So the council has the authority through the bylaw to set out the, any parameters that they want to set out. They are giving the authorization to the mayor and CAO to enter into that agreement in those negotiations, so it would not come back to council.
Okay.
And just to clarify, a councillor would be involved if they're being asked to take over some duties, but not council as a whole.
Yeah. So I have a question on that front. Maybe I'll just go to that one right now while I try to find the language on the other. So on that front, can say more about, in the research that you've done, are other municipalities like requiring other councillors to sign off on the agreement? My mind goes to, if one of us were to fall sick, obviously council would mobilize and cover off bases, but it wouldn't, Councillor Hyde's ability to take a sick leave wouldn't require my signature to allow it, kind of thing. So I'm just wondering why we're creating that extra bit of, if I come back to the goal being to remove barriers, this seems like we're installing a barrier here, and I just don't understand why.
Sure. So with her parental leave, you're being, the person would be away from the council meetings longer than the MGA would require. So they need approval for that. And because that other councillor would then be assuming the role for longer than 60 consecutive days, that's a significant amount of time. In the instance that you gave me, if a councillor were to fall sick and another councillor stepped in, if that councillor was sick for more than 60 consecutive days, they are then disqualified and they are no longer on council.
So that's the way the MGA handles this. Thank you. That's helpful. And then the last piece, forgive me, I didn't get the exact page on it, but the bylaw talks about remuneration for a person who's on this parental leave. And the language just seems kind of like high level. The maximum allowable under current legislation. Do we have a sense of what that would look like? I get the rationale for wording it this way in the bylaw. Is it, as those policies change, we don't have to come back and change our bylaw every time. So the bylaw just kind of floats to whatever the standard is, but it would just help me in contemplating this to understand. And I guess for some public transparency too, if a person's availing themselves of this, I think part of the community narrative will be, this is new, we're not sure we like new things, and we've elected somebody potentially, and now we're not going to get their full services. I think this would be some helpful information to feed into that conversation.
Yeah, so we didn't list the details because it could change at any time, but the current employment standards is 55% of your regular earnings up to a weekly maximum of $695. So it's either 55% or $695 per week. That is current employment standard rates.
Yeah, and I think that's important, because if you bury that into a policy and it changes, then we're back here again.
Yeah, so I do appreciate that. I just think, eventually we'll get to a point where we're considering whether we can live with this bylaw or not, and that'll be details of the current situation that will be important for us to consider. I think that's all my questions, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Tellenboss, over to yourself. That's okay.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just two quick questions. I think for Ms. Montney would be the first one here. Just in regards to option 3, where this kind of becomes a discretionary decision, and let's say council approves Councillor A, but not Councillor B, do we open ourselves up to a little bit of exposure there?
Yes, you would want justification of why you're either allowing it or not allowing it. Yeah.
So I guess in your professional opinion, would you prefer it black and white or that nice gray at option 3?
I think black and white would be easier. If you choose option 3, then it would have to come to council and be voted on, right?
Perfect. So for that reason, I wouldn't support option 3. Quick question just on the comparators. I know there's only one municipality mentioned here where they talk about parental leave. So it's Calgary there where there's maternity leave and parental leave. Are all of these parental leave or are they maternal leave?
We've classified it all as parental leave. So even for an employee, only the person giving birth can take maternity leave, but mother or father can take parental leave. And so we've just classified it all under parental leave.
For sure, but for these comparators, do we know if it's maternal leave or if it's parental? Because there's only mention once of parental leave in here, which is Calgary. Are the rest maternal?
Parental.
They're all parental?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councillor Tellenboss. And Mayor, over to yourself.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So I just want to make some comments. I think, thank you for doing the work on this. I think because we live in a world of virtual options now, I think having that ability to still participate in some of the activities is even more possible when you are on paternal leave and paternity leave. So I like that, as well as in Part 2, Section 11, I think it is, or item number 11, it talks about how the counselor can revise their parental leave agreement during the parental leave, which I think is also very helpful because as they are along in the journey, they can determine how much more they feel they can participate. And so I appreciate that, and for that reason, I think option 2 is a good one because of the fact that they can monitor their own progress as well, and it doesn't leave the door open for any kind of variation in how we decide one way or the other when it comes to option 3. So I like option 2.
Thank you. And I'll just take the opportunity to pony on to that one. I had, when I was reading this to begin with, I thought to myself, perhaps it should be up to 16 weeks, up to 26 weeks. But then I found also that number 11 where up to is inherent in the policy. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so great observation. I was thinking the same. Councillor Murray, back to yourself.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just another question that we have already discussed it before in our orientation, but what does happen in the future if there was somebody who's not available here for several months and we're starting to make decisions and we're not getting that, if we're always hitting a tie, 3 versus 3 sort of thing, how does that play out if in very rare circumstances, maybe, what does that mean for the council?
Thank you. Through to Councillor Murray. There is no provision to replace someone or have that odd number if someone is on parental leave. So if someone's on parental leave and there's only one person on parental leave of a council of 7, that leaves 6 back to, and that could end up in a number of things being defeated. Yeah, and I think that's why it goes to choosing the number of weeks is important. Council's term is only 4 years. 26 weeks is, a little over 6 months. So how long do you want someone on your team to be gone?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Murray. Mayor, back to yourself.
Just on that note, so in this, does it mean that they can come back sooner than 26 weeks?
Yes, the way the bylaw is currently drafted, we have a maximum of whatever weeks, so they could come back sooner. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
They just have to give the notice. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you for everyone's comments tonight. We've heard some feedback tonight around option 2. Obviously, council will decide this when it comes to council, but I think there was a bunch of good clarifying questions asked on this tonight. And one of the things that floated to the top for me is certainty is important, and that would be provided in the 26 weeks piece. And then the idea of barriers and how we think of that, that Councillor Penrod was asking about, and what does the barrier of an uncertain extension look like to the whole process? So I think those will be important things that council will think about when this does come back. And last question, do we have a timeline on when this would come back to council? Is it soon? Is it next quarter? Is it second quarter? What does that look like?
Thank you, Chair, for that question. Being that we have the bylaw drafted and there were just some feedback that we were requiring, we should be able to bring that back by the end of January.
Okay. Thank you. Well, that's great. I think it'll still be fresh in our minds then, and appreciate the input from everyone on item 5.5. With that, that brings us to number 6 in our agenda tonight, and that is councillor inquiries. There are 2 of them presented for information only, and I understand that there's 2, maybe 3 additional councillor inquiries. It's around temporary event structures. Please provide information on whether the City of Beaumont's current bylaws and policies permit the erection of event tents, tarp shelters, or any other temporary structures in front yards, and if so, under what conditions. Thank you for that. Councillor Coolsmith. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Please provide information on the feasibility, including any pros and cons, of incorporating the number of occupancy permit applications received and the average number of days from receipt to approval into the quarterly planning and development monitoring reports.
Thank you for that, Councillor Coolsmith. I believe there might be one more. Or is that it? That's it for tonight? Okay, thank you very much. That's it for tonight on councillor inquiries. Moving on to number 7, closed session, for which I believe we do not exist. Section 8, which is adjournment, and thank you for everyone's participation tonight, and I call this meeting adjourned at 6:28 p.m. Thank you.